Hey YouTube, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the 2025 NFL Draft. If you weren't aware, I'm breaking down every single pick in the draft, breaking down every single team. And if you want to see any of the other teams, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the homepage, search Rico Knows, right? Check the playlist and go to the 2025 NFL Draft Reviews and Assessments playlist. You will see all the other teams. Yes, I've already completed 27 other teams. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go. Shout out to whoever's watching this video. I'm assuming you're a Steelers fan. And if you are, you got to remember you're fanatical about your team, and you probably care a lot about them, and you've justified every one of these picks in your mind, and you have foreseen the greatness of these guys, and you're there for it all. Well, let me tell you something. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the platform. I don't get down like that. You boys ain't shit. Okay, so for the last 2 years, I've been with the Steelers draft classes like you wouldn't believe. I believe in them wholeheartedly. I've thought very highly of them. You can see my assessments. They're on YouTube. They're on TikTok. You go see them. But this year, I can't get down with it, man. I used to talk about how seasoned this scouting department is. They've been together for years upon years. They've got a head coach of stability. They've got leadership. They know what they're doing. They know how to draft and evaluate players. And I go out there and I'll sing praises of undrafted free agents. Beanie Bishop, I'm like, yo, bro, they found a guy. I did put it in 4K, told the world about it. Shout out to Beanie Bishop. And then they go into this draft, and remember, they lose Najee Harris, and they go, all right, we're going to have to address running back at some point. We're going to have to do that. Okay, fine. Excuse me for a second as I click out of my window here. But the thing about it is they went into the draft. People talked about they tied them to Shedeur Sanders. And they better hope Shedeur Sanders does not become a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's number one. They better hope he never becomes a starting quarterback in the NFL, because they're going to be ridiculed for that decision all day long. Now, they're going to ride it out for a year, I think, right? They're going to roll with this Aaron Rodgers dude. What a bum. But it's even worse than that, man. This is one of my bottom 3 favorite draft classes in the entire NFL. And somebody's got to be at the bottom. All you guys out there are convinced your team had a great draft. Your team had, like, one of you didn't. It's the reality of the situation. Hell, fuck, 20 of you didn't. Okay? And I have to put my stamp on something. And for me, it's this Steelers draft class. I'm not with it. I'm not buying into it at all. I thought decisions being made were terrible. I couldn't even understand. Dude, every one of these draft picks is from the Big Ten, except for Kenton at the bottom. Deontay Kenton, he's from the MAC. It's even worse. But every single player is from the Big Ten. They just sent their scouts to the Big Ten and said, we ain't drafted anything else. We're just doing Big Ten players. It's silly. So you needed quarterback, and you needed a running back, and the way you went around about addressing it is absurd. Absolutely absurd when you had the opportunity to really get some marquee players. Now, I'm not a big Shedeur guy. He was my number 1 quarterback, but I told you every single one of these quarterbacks is a backup quarterback. And that's really hard for people to understand. Every single one of these guys is a backup. I don't give a fuck who it is. Oh, and they're going to start. Some of them are going to start. Cam Ward, Rico, he's going to start. I know. He's a 6th-round draft pick grade. Goes to Miami, gets a bunch of stats, and now he's going to start. Now he's amazing. What happened over that year? Miami known for developing quarterbacks? Get out of here, bro. Well, look what he did at Washington State. I did, bro. I did. Eric Morris is the reason he was so great at Washington State. Some guy named Hornbuckle. That's a joke for you losers out there. Shout out to Ben Arbuckle. But anyways, this draft is going to, it reminds me of 1998. I don't know if you guys were alive back in 98. Some of you watching this video, you probably don't remember it. But in 1998, I was 16 years old, and my favorite player in all of college football was this wide receiver you probably never heard of. He scored a touchdown in every single game in college. Every single game he scored a touchdown. His name was Randy Moss, and he was phenomenal. I remember watching him play in the snow. He had this game in the snow where he was wearing these candy cane striped socks. 6'5", running like the wind, and he hurdles a guy, and I want to say they were playing Idaho or some shit, Montana, Idaho, it was probably Montana. They were playing Montana for the national championship at the FCS level. At the time, it was called 1AA. And Marshall wasn't an FBS school at the time. They weren't a group of 5 team, none of that stuff. They were down there in the 1AA. And Marshall had this quarterback, you might have heard of him, Chad Pennington. I believe they had, who was it, Darius Watts? Doug Chapman, the running back. He wore number 22 like Emmitt Smith. So you had Doug Chapman, 1,000-yard rusher. You had Chad Pennington at quarterback, and you had Randy Moss. Randy Moss was this guy. And you want to know how amazing Randy Moss is? The next year, he finally, as a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, he goes and he plays at the FBS level, right? He moves up to 1A. He finishes third in the Heisman voting. Third in the Heisman voting? That's insane. That's insane. It was phenomenal stuff. He's probably the most dominant player I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember when we went to the draft, I'm like, oh, everybody's going to get Randy Moss. And that year, the Dallas Cowboys had the 8th pick. They had the 8th pick. And the first pick in that draft was Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer. Third pick in that draft, well, remember, Ryan Leaf got picked next. Third pick in that draft was Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner. And then we get to the number 8 pick, and the Cowboys took Greg Ellis. Who? Greg Ellis in the first round, defensive end. Where did Greg Ellis play? North Carolina. And the next year, I think they took Ebenezer Ekubon in the first round again. Like, these dudes were drafting outrageous. Shout out to Chan Gailey. These guys were getting fired, bro. Don't ever think the NFL decision makers are smarter than you. Them dudes have them jobs for 1 or 2 years, and then they're fucking unemployed. And then nowadays, they just make podcasts and talk about how great they used to be. And people give them all the credibility in the world. And they might have had a cup of tea in the NFL. And true story, man. They drafted Greg Ellis. When Greg Ellis went off the board, the very next pick was Fred Taylor. A borderline, maybe one day he'll be like a veteran committee Hall of Famer. And people now are convinced Fred Taylor's the greatest thing ever because they see him in a podcast. It's like with the way they talk about Chad Johnson, right? They just start seeing him in podcasts or on social media. These kids all think these guys are the most amazing football players ever. They never once were the greatest ever. They never once were in the GOAT conversations or any good when we watched them play, and we remember them. And I bring all this up because the Cowboys had a chance to take Randy Moss. Randy Moss fell all the way to 21. 21. You think they regret that decision to take Greg Ellis? They knew they needed a receiver. They didn't know what they were doing. I bring that up because the Pittsburgh Steelers needed a running back. And they needed one bad. And you guys know I'm on record for telling you Omarion Hampton is the best running back in this draft. Oh, what are you talking about, Rico? There's a guy named Genty. Yeah, I know. And if Genty played at North Carolina, he'd be a backup. Because Omarion Hampton is better than him. If we lined up tomorrow with no jerseys on, just having tryouts, you're going to see this Omarion Hampton guy, and he's going to be your starter over everybody else. I promise you. He's the second leading rusher in college football over the last 2 years. And he's doing it at the power 4 level, not against scrubs. And I think if Omarion Hampton went to Boise State, he would have broke every record in the world. So you had a chance to draft Omarion Hampton and replace Najee Harris with Omarion Hampton. And you pass on it to take a defensive lineman. You pass on it to take Ebenezer Ekubon. No, those were edge rushers, by the way. You go and take a 6'5", 330-pound defensive tackle, Derek Harmon. Now, Derek Harmon initially was at Michigan State. He transferred to Oregon. I guess he increased his draft stock. Now, I didn't think he was a first-round pick at Michigan State. And I also don't think many of these defensive tackles were first-round caliber. For whatever reason in the NFL draft, there was just a huge reach and overdrafting of defensive tackles. I don't know what it's about. Maybe you just can't have enough 300-pounders. I get it. You can't have enough meat in the trenches. You can't have enough meat. Pause. Clip that. Shout out to my ex-wife. No, you can't have enough meat in the trenches, right? Got it. Oh, Rico, we got to stop Lamar Jackson. We got to stop, who's that other guy? Joey Burrow. Yeah, I know, bro. So you go and get a defensive tackle? No, man, you stop quarterbacks with edge rushers. You stop quarterbacks with coverage in the secondary. Force them to hold it a little longer. You stop quarterbacks by getting first downs that lead to touchdowns. Keep them off the field. But you go and take Derek Harmon. I got it. Cameron Hayward, getting old as hell. He's like 36 years old. He's going to retire soon. You're going to need a replacement. Got it, man. Got it. You got another nose tackle. Got it. Oh, Rico, we can play all the way. We're going to get those nerds. We're going to get those nerds in these comments. And they're going to come lecture me about he plays out to the 4. He plays out to the I-4, the 4-eye level, Rico. He can play on the inside of the tackle all the way to the A-gap. He's big enough to squeeze the A-gap, and he can maintain the B-gap. Any guy talking like that, bro? I already know you. I know who you are and what you are. You read shit on Twitter and draft websites, and then you just regurgitate them. You try to sound like you know what you're talking about. You're a fucking nerd. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a 300-pound cork. You ever watch those cartoons? Dude, I used to watch Popeye. If there was a hole in the ship, they'd put a cork in it. And it would stop the hole. And then a hole would pop out on another board somewhere else. And he'd plug it with his thumb and this, that. This dude is a cork. He's a tree stump in the A-gap. Got it. And find them dudes everywhere. Now, he's a good player. Don't marginalize him completely. But it's going to be one of those situations where you took Greg Ellis when you could have had a dynamic skill player with every snap of the ball. Every single snap of the ball. And the difference in athletic ability from Omarion Hampton to Caleb Johnson is the Red Sea, bro. It is an a nautical mile? I don't know what it's called. It's an eternity, bro. There's a gap this wide. A gap as wide as your teeth, Rico. You fucking nerds. Look, man, Caleb Johnson gets taken in the 3rd round. Very productive running back at Iowa. Apparently the Steelers recruited the hell out of Iowa. They got 2 players from Iowa. They signed an undrafted free agent safety, Sebastian Castro, from Iowa. Last year drafted players from Iowa. It makes sense. Just go get some of these guys from Iowa. They're tough. They'll play in the cold. I watch them, bro. They play in the mud. They're 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Caleb Johnson, highly productive at Iowa. 6'2", 230-ish pounds of a running back, and just go out there and battering ram. You ever seen Caleb Johnson do anything athletic? Like you require him to do anything athletic? You ever seen it? Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Least athletic running back around. And when I say least athletic running back, that means there's a lot better athletes than him. I'm not slamming the young man. Oh, Rico, you just hating. I'm praising other players. There's other players you should have taken. Because we had tryouts, once again, shirts and skins. We have tryouts and you don't know anybody's name, and you just go out there and say, hey, man, run them cones, run that rock, break that tackle, make that guy miss. Let's do an Oklahoma drill. Let's do this. Let's do that. Whatever it is. Let's do this zone read. Let's finish this run here. Let's see your lean. Run behind your pads. Make a linebacker miss. Whatever it is, bro. Caleb Johnson's not going to impress you. One of the least, I think he was the worst performing running back at the combine. Now, if you're the worst performing corner at the combine, you don't get drafted. If you're the worst performing safety, remember Kitchens last year? Cameron Kitchens just went out there, ran a 4.6, 5.40. They said, oh, we can't draft him. And they just dropped dudes down the boards. Right? Caleb Johnson being drafted in the 3rd round, that's starting caliber draft position. And they don't have good running backs on this team. I'm letting you know, they don't have good running backs on this team. The talent at running back for Pittsburgh Steelers is not there. And you got a guy that fits right in with those dudes. Oh, he's going to start over them. We got a starter. Okay. That's cool, man. Not all starters are equal. This ain't it. It's silly. And you could have had Omarion Hampton. And who would you take in the 3rd round? Well, you could have taken a defensive tackle at that point. It would serve a similar purpose, if you ask me. Now, you're watching a video. That means you are asking me of my assessment of these players. You get what I'm saying? Let me go look up something real quick. I want to go see something. I don't want to get crazy. Oh, it was Gantwell. Oh, my God. Kenneth Gantwell. Oh, my goodness. That's the Memphis kid? And Warren? Nah. Next round. They go and take Jack Sawyer. I like Jack Sawyer. He's one of my favorite players in the draft. Shout out to Ohio State. Leader amongst men. Leader among the team. High floor. NFL ready. High floor, low ceiling. Not the most explosive athlete in the world, but he's right there. Good leader. Good locker room guy. Another tough dude. What the fuck are you doing drafting him in the 4th round? He was too good to pass up, Rico. He was too good to pass up. We're going to get him in the rotation. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. Where's he fit in, bro? Where's he fit in? Stop the bullshit. If you wanted to take, you don't even need the outside. That's not even a position of need. And if you wanted to take him, go get one in the 1st round next time. Get Jahed Campbell. He was available. Get Schlesinger. Carson Schlesinger was my favorite linebacker in the whole draft. My number 1 linebacker in the whole draft. You could have got him at 21. Oh, we're not going to trade back out of that position. All right, Tomlin. We're not going to trade back out of that position. But we're going to take a guy that shouldn't go in that position. Make that make sense. Shout out to Jack Sawyer. I just going to a loaded team, a loaded position room, it just bugs me. And then we got Yahya Black, nose tackle. Don't need him. You have Benton, right? You have Benton. Don't need him. We're gonna make him. Oh, we're gonna put him out to the edge, Rico. He can do this. He plays 4-eye. All right. It is what it is. These picks are just absurd at this point. Adding depth is real. Not improving is another thing. Adding depth is essential. Not improving at all is a whole nother concept here. Will Howard, not a bad pick, but I think they were just going to wait till Shedeur got off the board before they drafted another quarterback, or before they drafted a quarterback. That's all it was. They're just waiting for Shedeur to get off the board so they could justify taking a different quarterback. And then you get Will Howard. Good, I would say good value for where you got him. I hope he never has to see the field for you. This is not an NFL caliber starting quarterback. It's just not. Yeah, won a national title, Rico. Yeah. So did Ken Dorsey. Bro. I don't believe in that hype. Carson Bruner. I told you guys in the pre-draft video, if you go watch the pre-draft videos, they're on the live tab on YouTube. Same way I showed you to get to the playlist. Go to the live tab. And then go watch all the videos before the draft. I did position ranking videos. And when I mentioned Carson Bruner, I told you he hits hard on tape. Undersized, he hits hard on tape. I'm watching all these plays, and there's just pop to him. It reminds me of a guy. It reminds me of Steve Tasker. It reminds me of a gunner on kickoff. I don't know how valuable that is. Nowadays, I guess if a touchback to the 35-yard line, so teams are going to really get kickoff returns going. They're going to make sure that they don't kick them into the end zone. They're going to kick them just short so they get returns. So you need guys to go down and make a tackle. That's where Bruner's going to make this team. He's not an NFL caliber linebacker, at least not by my assessment. But this draft pick was a favor to a friend. His father, Mark Bruner, used to play for the Steelers for many years. He was a tight end. It was a first-round pick back in, I think, 97 as well. I don't remember. Probably 97, 98 time frame. Somewhere around there. I think 97. So, Bruner, yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to you and your father. I'm sure it's a dream. You're playing for the Steelers. You're out there. Do your best, man. And then we have Dante Kent, played in the MAC. There's been successful MAC corners, so maybe they hit another one. Dante Kent's been playing many, many years. I believe he started over 40 games. I like his versatility. He's also a return guy. That's why they have him there for punt returns. All in all, pretty terrible draft. And what it comes down to is just not improving as much as other teams. Like, other teams drafted players that are going to have more of an impact. I look at this team, and I'm just like, all right, good luck, Caleb Johnson. Go do it, man. Go prove me wrong. Have a Barry Foster-like career. You kids don't even know who the fuck I'm talking about, bro. It's outrageous. I can't talk to you. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.